Hello. Another midweek chat here. What is it? It's June 7th. Guess where I am? Anybody know? Eau Claire current events people? So I had no idea about this, but we're going to use this on the Parish bike ride this Sunday. So that's the first part of the chat. First Parish bike ride of the year, Sunday. June what? 11th, noon. We'll meet outside the church on the 11th Street parking lot by the carport. And we'll come here. This will be part of the ride. So this is to my right, about, 60 yards is Half Moon Lake. And behind me, where this trail goes, will be the Menard Tennis Center, the end of Half Moon Lake there. And going back that way is the Rod and Gun Club. So anyway, we used to sometimes take this shortcut that was sometimes popular. The younger set preferred it. I think sometimes the older set was wondering what the heck I was taking him through the woods for. But there was a trail, just a dirt trail through the woods. We'd sometimes go here and then pop out at the tennis center. Anyway, this is just underway. They just started laying concrete, and you can go all the way from the Rod and Gun Club to the tennis center. There's a spur trail here that'll go to the lakeshore. That's just about, looks like they have about 20 yards done and a lot, 40 yards to go. So it's under process, and you can see it's kind of rough. They'll make it so I think there's not a drop off. That's a little dangerous, but so it'll be great. This is kind of exciting to me. I had no idea about this at all. I try to keep up on the news, but I guess I didn't catch this. But it's part of Eau Claire's desire to make the more attractive city, more recreational opportunities for people. And I found out about it because Lawrence Thompson, he's a walker. He's a Marine and served in Vietnam, and he grew up in Eau Claire, and he knows more than anybody I know about the history of Eau Claire. And once in a while, I'm lucky enough to get a little guided tour, and we went on a walk today, and he said, "I want to show you this. This is new." And I'm like, "Okay." So we spent a nice couple hours together today, and I got to see this. So, and maybe you never knew about it either. So it's a little secret. It's not well traveled right now, so you can get in on the ground floor, be part of something pretty exciting. Okay, let me get my paper here. Remember was it last week? I forgot my paper. I thought, where is it? I just had it. I saw it. It was the one where I was by the river and that woodchuck ran by me. As soon as I was done with the chat, I hit stop and I got up and I was sitting on it. I was sitting on my notes. Let's do a little show and tell right away before I forget. So I forgot I bought this when I was in the Holy Land in February. And then I went to my table where I had unpacked everything from the Holy Land. We were at the a place called Tavga, which celebrates the multiplication of the loaves and fishes, the feeding of the multitudes, on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. There's a beautiful church there, an ancient mosaic of a basket and 4 loaves and 2 fish. And the tour guide says, "How come? How many loaves were there in the story?" And in most of the stories, there's 5 loaves. He goes, "Well, why would there be 4 loaves in the basket then? If this is an ancient Christian art." And the answer was because the 5th is the Eucharist. The 5th is the bread that we have, the loaf that we have. And that mosaic is from the 4th century. So the practice of the Eucharist was well established by then, which I'll talk about later, because this upcoming Sunday we have the Feast of the Body and Blood of Christ. Anyway, the bus was loading, people were being a little bit pokey, and I like to support that gift shop there. And so I went in and I saw this. Do you like it? I don't know. Everybody doesn't like our kind of art, so you don't. I could say you have to like it. It's Jesus. You don't have to. It's art, but it's made out of olive wood, right? And you can see there's a little, where the head of Jesus is there, separating his head from his shoulder. There's a little carving, a little space. I like it, and you might notice it's shaped like a T, and that's not. I didn't get that because T for Tom. No. This is called a Tav, a Tau cross, T-A-U. It's the Greek letter T. And, this is especially precious to our Franciscans in the world. So it's a Franciscan cross. Sometimes Sister Marguerite watches the chat, so if you are, hi. I remember when you gave me your Tau cross, or one of your Tau crosses, when we ministered together at Eau Claire Newman. And so she would recognize this right away. Anyway, I just like anything that's a little creative, kind of interesting, and supports the Christians over there in the Holy Land. So I snagged it when I was there. Well, there's a little separating his legs too. There's a little cross there. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you. One of the things I like about going to St. John's Abbey is they have such beautiful art around there, and we haven't been able to go there with our groups, but I've been there as an individual. Underneath the main church, there are all these, from kind of pre-Vatican II days, they have these individual chapels where priests would do kind of private masses, and they might have I think they maybe had a server with them. Probably one of the ordained priests would, one of those studying for the priesthood would assist them. Anyway, each of those chapels has beautiful art in it, kind of original. They have, whether it's like a painted cross or a woodworked cross, a lot of metal crosses, and they're all very different and artistic. I love it. Oh boy, okay. So anyway, that's show and tell for the day. Sometimes I save that for the end. I already mentioned we got the Parish bike ride coming up this Sunday at 11. What I want to do too is the summer newsletter went out and I forgot to put anything about disc golf. We have this lovely disc golf course on our property that was established on All Saints Day, 2017, I think, 16 maybe. And usually we have like a tournament or an outing or two during the summer. So we're gonna have outdoor mass. All right, we're gonna have 3 this summer, and then probably 1 or 2 in the fall. But the first summer one will be not this Sunday, not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. So June 17th, 6:30. And the days are so nice and long right now. So we'll finish mass at like 7:30, and people can hang around a little bit, and we'll have a group. Anybody who wants to play disc golf, a little mini tournament or something, we can do that. I'll play left-handed to make it even. I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's some really good. Who did I talk to? Tyler Gayling said he just went out and was 3 under par on the course. So, I bow to that level of skill. And I try to. I don't know if I've been under par for 9, but I usually get close to par. So anyway, and we're gonna lose 2 of our trees in the fall on the first hole because of the emerald ash borer. We already cut down 6, and there's 2 more, and we'll get some more planted, but it takes a while, right? So right now the first hole is very short, but there are these 2 big ash trees that block it, so it makes it interesting. So it'll be sad when they're gone. Okay. All right. Church, Chuck. So we had 2 deaths in the parish with some of our great men. Chuck Giroux, his funeral will be this coming Tuesday at 11:30. Visitation begins at 10:30. His wife Bridget was over, and we kind of planned it out. And he was a theater teacher in high school for many, many years in Michigan, and has lots of students who remember him so fondly as being a key person in making their lives better and forming their professional dreams. So what she shared yesterday, there was a letter she read from someone who writes, I'm probably getting this wrong, but I think he writes for the Muppets, or he came up with the Muppets script for the movie or something. It was something pretty major that a lot of people have seen. And Chuck was his high school teacher. And when he found out he died, he wrote this real loving tribute about how important Chuck was to his life. And then Jerry Vink is the other man who died, and he will, they're working out a date, but it looks like it'll be in late January. July. There's too many months that begin with J. I get them mixed up. So Chuck Giroux's will be on June 13th, and Jerry's will be July something, but we don't know what, toward the second half of the month, I think. And Jerry, St. James meant an awful lot to him, and he was always present until he couldn't be physically any longer. So we remember 2 people that church meant a lot to them, and they meant a lot to the church. So, okay. I mentioned we're near the Rod and Gun Club. I didn't ask him if it'd be okay, but I got a call from Joe Brunner. He said, "Hey, Father, I don't know if you like to fish, but we're getting rid of some pretty good rods and reels. If you're interested, we'd love to give them to you." So I don't really do that, but if that sounds interesting to you, I'll put in a good word. So if really, seriously, if you got family, you like some fishing rods or something, it sounds like he's trying to get rid of them. I would love to give them away to people that would enjoy them. So let me know. Then I'll let him know, see if that's okay. I think he'd be happy with that. That's a little bit on my mom, so I just give updates on her. I thank people for asking me how she's doing. I was really concerned last Friday and Saturday because it didn't seem like she was eating or drinking, and was really despondent. And that's changed for the better since then. I saw her all day Monday. I was over there, and there's some eating and drinking. And when I called her on the phone yesterday, she seemed happy. And, there's some definitely a setback cognitively, but I'm sensing that the smile and glint in her eye again. It's interesting, for me and so many people that I talk to are caring for their aging parents, and it's the road of life here. What's around the bend, nobody knows. We try to be people that care for each other, especially our families. So anyway, let's keep praying for each other and everybody and special needs, right? Okay. Regis baseball. I'm hopping from one thing to Coach Neese and the gang. They were at the one game shy of the sectional finals to go to state, and it was tied going into the last inning, and we did not score, and the other team did, so that means we lost. So it's too bad. I watched that live feed. I couldn't tell. There was one point when I just saw on the live feed all these Regis players running around the bases, and I thought, yeah, because it was tied, and I thought, we're going to have like a 3-run lead, It must have been bases loaded. It was hard to tell. But I think what happened was the scoreboard never changed. I think there was a pop-up. When there's 2 outs and a pop-up, everybody just runs. And so that was the 3rd out, so we didn't get any runs. That was too bad. But anyway, well done. I got to go to a couple games, and I always like to see Coach Neese in action there with the boys. And I'm sorry I didn't get to any girls softball games, but those are interesting too, of course. I think Ann, our office manager, her daughter is on the team, but she didn't graduate yet, so I can still see some next year. Who is it? Brittany? Martin? Yeah, I asked her if her season was over, and she said, I think she heard me say before Mass started, was it our video Mass last time? Anyway, she's a great athlete and a great gal, and I just asked if the season was over, and she said no, so I thought that maybe they were but she just meant there's still more softball to be played because she hasn't graduated yet. So anyway, it's all good. Or maybe it was soccer. I don't know. It's hard. A lot of good people, a lot of good youth at St. James. So, what more do I have here for parish news? So there's a big trailer truck parked behind church. It's called Building Restoration Corporation. And it's a big project. It's over $300,000 project that they're going to start. They waited till the school was out, and school was out yesterday. So they showed up with the trailer, and I think we'll start hearing some noise pretty soon. I didn't hear any noise today yet, but they're going to, basically the building isn't very sound right now with the bricks and the mortar and the joints and where the windows meet the building, there's leaks. And so they're going to fix all that, so it'll be a good sound building again, and that doesn't come cheaply. But we are real fortunate. We had a couple donors who really basically are going to pay for it. So I didn't expect that. I thought, gosh, we should have put that in our capital campaign, but it was too late. We had a campaign, and then we found out about these problems. So anyway, some people heard about the need and wanted to support that, and so grateful, right? So hey, there's a liturgy committee lunch tomorrow. That doesn't matter. It's at Grizzlies, I guess. But there's a couple people on liturgy committee that are really particular about where they eat, and I guess that one fits the person's taste. So I just want to, thanks to them. They decorate the church, a lot of them. They kind of plan out the seasons and how we celebrate liturgy during the year. So it'll be fun just to remember and to celebrate. And so if you go to St. James and you like the liturgies there, hats off to that committee. What else? Pope? I just before I left, there's like the Pope had a surgery today. Like what? And so he had intestinal surgery to remove some scar tissue and to repair a hernia. And I heard it was 3 hours surgery, and that he came out. This was his second intestinal surgery in 2-3 years. And I heard he came out and he was kind of joking with the doctors and stuff. He said, "So when are we going to do the third one?" So that's a good sign when you're in good spirits coming out of surgery. He had to go into general anesthesia. And, it wasn't emergency surgery. They thought, this kind of needed to be done at some point. And he's got 2 big trips planned in August. He's going to go to Portugal, including the shrine of Our Lady of Fatima for World Youth Day, I think. And then you'll never guess the other place he's going. Mongolia. Can you believe it? I think it was one of the new cardinals from Mongolia. But boy, that's pretty remote. It's above China, right? It's kind of between China and Russia, and the Gobi Desert, I think, is in the Mongolia. Is that where Genghis Khan came from in the old days? Anyway, I guess there's Catholics in Mongolia, and he wants to support them and be a presence there. So that's good. Okay. What do we got going? The only other thing I have in my sheet here is just to highlight that this Sunday is the Feast of the Body and Blood of Christ. Could say so much about that. In town here, it's been a tradition at Sacred Heart St. Patrick's Parish to have a Eucharistic procession. It's the same time as the parish bike ride, so you'd have to choose. But they start at St. Pat's at 12, and then they'll walk with the Eucharist and a monstrance, and walk it up through downtown and up the hill to Sacred Heart Church, I think, and then have a closing prayer. So kind of a unique, beautiful way to pray, to walk with Jesus through the city. If anyone's interested in that, I'm sure they'd be the more the merrier, for sure. The more the merrier is the right word, but the more prayerful, the better. Better it would be, the more people. But body and blood of Christ. So there was a poll that gets a lot of attention. It was taken a while ago, and the question was of Catholics: what do you believe that what you receive at Mass is the body and blood of Christ? Is truly the body and blood of Christ, something like that. And it was kind of less than half said yes. I don't know if it was a third, something like that. And that kind of put a shockwave through the bishops and the teachers of the faith, because we teach that we receive the body and blood of Christ. So that's when, one of the things that changed, before you receive the body of Christ or the blood of Christ, to make a slight bow of the head was a change. I think we did that, started that, was that 2006 or something like that? I don't know. And so that's all for the good, because what we do with our bodies makes a difference. I do believe, and then different people have different pieties, how they approach the Eucharist. Some might receive on the tongue. I grew up, I think we started being allowed to receive in the hands around 1970 or so. I don't remember exactly when that was. Some people would say that's too commonplace. I prefer it. I like that. I feel like it's true. It doesn't diminish its sacredness to me when I receive it, Jesus in my hand. I feel like he gives it himself away as food. It's him, but it's as food. He took the bread, blessed it, broke it, gave it. This is my body given for you. And so to receive him as food seems appropriate to me. But other people argue, the other way. That it makes them feel more sacred, makes them help appreciate the real presence of Jesus, to receive it differently. Sometimes I've told a story, so I had this, maybe I can just tell it again, right? You won't be bored. The key to me is that when you receive, you feel like you're having an encounter with Jesus. And so I think that way that question was phrased, that what you're receiving is the body and blood of Christ, I think maybe some people said no, because they might have had they still have an active Eucharistic spirituality, that what they're receiving is Christ. And maybe if the question were phrased that what you receive at Mass is Christ, or that do you believe that Christ is truly present, not just as a sign or a symbol, but it's truly him in the Eucharist. It's him who you receive. I just think that percentage would have gone way up. I think sometimes when people hear body and blood of Christ, they think in terms of molecules. We'll hear this on Sunday's Gospel. It's like Jesus says, "Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you." And then the people there quarrel. They say, "How can he give us his flesh to eat?" It's kind of like, that's gross, And it's gross if you think of it in terms of molecules. That the molecules change into the molecules of human skin and human blood, but that's not the teaching of the Church, right? It's just that it's not just. It's that there's a substantial change. What we're receiving isn't bread; it's Jesus. It's Jesus under the form of bread. It's Jesus under the form of food, but it's really Jesus. So I had this fellow. He was just a great guy and very generous. He sang in the choir, and he was very generous financially, and he had a good service in the community. He was a professional that he could offer his services to the poor for free, and he would do that occasionally and often. And but he wouldn't take communion, and he said, "I just can't." He said, "I'm a scientist. I just don't see how that can be the body and blood of Jesus." And he said, "I'm supposed to believe that, right? Or not receive it, so I don't want to receive it." And I said, well, it's before I knew this, that it's not about molecules. That's a nice response. To respond to, if you're talking to your children or whoever, we're not saying that the molecules change. We're just saying that there's a change, that what was just in a plastic bag before Mass, there's something changed now. So because of Jesus' offer that when you do this in memory of me, I'm there with you. So that and the faith of the people meet that, and so there's a change. And so in our tradition, we don't put it back. If we have leftover Eucharist, it's Jesus, and so we don't put leftover Eucharist in a plastic bag and put it back in the cupboard. We have a tabernacle for that, right? And I don't remember how many things I've thought, but we had these college students who were really great kids, but they didn't get that. And after Mass at UW Stout in the campus ministry, I knew we had a lot of hosts left after Mass, and they were gone. And I was like, well, where did they go? And they said, well, we put them back. And I said, oh, in the tabernacle? And they said, no, in the cupboard. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Where'd you put them back? And then they showed me, and it was like, there were probably like 50 hosts left over, and they were in this plastic bag with probably like 250 in them, and you couldn't tell which were which. And so what do you do? Church would allow for you to bury them, but it's not the best thing to do, So, and you're not supposed to usually people say, well, I'll just use them for the next Mass and bless all of them. But there's a rule, you're not supposed to reconsecrate. It's a rule based on our belief that there's a substantial change, and it's changed, and so you shouldn't it's like you don't baptize someone twice. They're baptized, they're changed. You don't consecrate the bread more than once. And anyway, so we ate it. We ate them all, and I thought, if nothing else, they learned about the real presence, So anyway, with this guy that I was talking about before, I said, well, to me it would be enough, to unwrap your head around, is it blood, is it body? To be more concerned, is it Christ? When I come up and I open my hands to that, and do I feel like I'm having an encounter with Jesus, that Jesus is giving himself to me? And when I go back to the pew and I'm sitting or I'm kneeling, and I can feel that the Eucharist that I've received has gone into my mouth and is now in my stomach as part of my body. Can I feel the wonder of that and the goodness of that God is with me in such a tangible way? We prayed with Jane today, Jane and some of the staff, prayed, Jane Schultz, one of our grand people, and she said it's about taste. She said, what's more basic than that? Taste and food. We need Jesus, we need God. And we should probably spend, I'm always conscious like we should get, I don't want Mass to go much more than an hour, and but I should probably leave more time for people just to be silent or hear the music and just rest with Christ in them, in the sacrament, and just contemplate the mystery and the wonder of that. That's what we celebrate anyway, on the Feast of the Body and Blood of Christ. So, and if you get used to that, I mean, that's a sign. Even just if you get used to that feeling and appreciation of Christ's presence with you after communion, there's no reason you can't take that experience and that feeling, on a Wednesday night when you're at home and you're praying, the Holy Spirit's with you, that God is with you. It's different. It's not as tangible. But once we start getting the feel for God with us, it's something we can go back to again and again. So anyway, it went longer than I thought it would today. But I guess I got rambly on a few things. So let's just contemplate the road a little bit here. I mentioned earlier that when I was talking about my mom and people who are a little getting weaker, that we walk the road of life, and it's good. We walk together. That quote I like so much. That sometimes I think life is just about all of us walking each other home. So what's around the bend there? We don't know. It's called the future. We try to plan, and things don't always go according to our plan. But one thing we can do is we can take Jesus with us. We can walk along, be his companions, have him as our companion, and we walk with confidence and faith into a future we don't know. So I'll just let you look at that a little bit. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Alleluia. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Alleluia. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Alleluia. With your peace in our hearts, O God, may we go forward with you into the future of life. Amen. See ya. God bless you.